So I'm going to be talking about what a working group is, our working group, and outline what was produced by the Building Energy Codes Working Group to date. I'm going to propose the structure and then talk about the responsibilities of the advisory committee and secretariat. And then actually, I'm going to talk about what I thought would be a range of issues. And then we can introduce each other, and then you can modify, let us know what your thoughts are. So for those that are not part of the Energy in Buildings and Communities, a working group is essentially focused, it says, it's unlike annexes. Annexes, people have to sign agreements and get approval from their governments. A working group is quite loose. The objective of it is essentially to share knowledge, conduct research to a certain extent, and it would be good if we could create some recommendations as a group at some point. The original working group was launched in 2019 by Meredith. Thank you, Meredith, for your initiative on that. And that was supported by USDOE. And essentially,
can I just briefly comment? I also would just like to recognize David Nemsa, who I think was really the foundational piece behind the working group. Thanks.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Meredith. And like what it says there about the considerations are valid for us, namely the need for faster, easier, and reliable methods to check the building code compliance, substantial amount of time it takes for codes, etc. Like this kind of issues are needed to be addressed regardless of the time it is. There was quite a bit of work that was carried by the working group led by Meredith. I feel inadequate in terms of codes compared to her. Sorry, Meredith, don't blush. And that's why essentially I asked for all of you guys to participate in this, because our collective knowledge will be important for development of codes across the globe, essentially. Each of us brings a certain level of understanding from our own experiences, but collectively, I think we can have a significantly more impact than each one of us by ourselves. You will notice that I wanted to make sure that people who will look at this would understand that the advisory committee represents experts and not countries. I just put the countries next to it because it's a good overview of the breadth of expertise that we have in this working group. As you saw in the presentation, the advisory committee essentially is meant to identify important codes-related issues, act as liaison between the working group secretariat and codes researchers. Like, for example, Danielle in Canada is working for, she's going to be introducing herself later, but she's working for the Office of Energy Efficiency and interacts with different researchers on codes. It's important for this group to have access and to receive the requirements and provide some direction based on our collective knowledge, and essentially act as ambassadors of this working group to expand our network of collaborators. The secretariat, which is essentially, Brody, Matt, and me essentially are responsible for organizing the advisory committee meetings, coordinating the collaboration among experts, and organize the dissemination of knowledge. This could happen through the symposium like it was before, or any kind of opportunity that arises in our own professional life. And we would interact with EBC. Essentially, the EXCO requires us to provide a plan of what we are doing, as well as semi-annual updates. These are some things that I threw together, but I'm not going to talk about it at all because I hope you guys are going to be talking about it. And I'm going to essentially do our formal introductions at this point. Mike, are you? I don't see.
Yep,
oh, here, yeah.
Yep. So, Michael Dodd. I'm based in Canberra and the Australian Capital Territory, which is a territory as part of Australia's federated structure. So I'm working here on building codes within our territory. I previously worked at the Australian Building Codes Board, which is the technical committee for writing Australia's minimum standards. My focus there was working on commercial building energy efficiency and residential building energy efficiency. I'm not sure, Melly, how much detail where you'd like me to go. What sort of where key interests here will come later in terms of topics, or or is this sufficient at this point in time?
It would be good if you could provide a couple of issues that you think are important where you're standing. That way, we will collect all that and then talk about it in our discussion further down.
Yeah, sure. So one of the key issues for us is around building resilience to heat stress. So we're talking about our temperatures here. The minimum temperature right now in Canberra is about 16 degrees Celsius right now at 2 a.m. Overnight, and we're heading towards 40-degree days. So looking at balancing, I guess, winter and summer performance. We have a relatively mild climate in terms of cold, but we still have here in Canberra, we can get down to -6, -7. So we have a 40-degree Celsius diurnal swing, and dealing with it with extreme heat. There's work that in terms of other climate impacts in Australia, bushfire and bushfire smoke is a key issue. So keeping buildings resilient to fire attack. So the range of climate change impacts and integrating those into building codes. Indoor air quality, I saw that mentioned. Compliance with energy efficiency, I saw that mentioned. That there are definitely issues that are common here. Condensation management is an issue here in Australia. I think we're behind quite a lot of the other jurisdictions here on the code, on the call. Integration of renewable energy into buildings. Integration of a building energy management system, sort of for grid responsive buildings, and so that buildings are able to be, I guess, contributors to a stable energy grid, as opposed to a detriment. I might leave it there. So I'm interested to hear what others have to say. And it's my first time participating in a committee such as this, so I'm looking forward to it, and nice to meet you all.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thanks. Danielle, you're up next.
Hey, I'm Danielle Crowell. I'm from the Office of Energy Efficiency in the Buildings Division here at Natural Resources Canada. And some of the priorities that we're looking at, well, we got a new government last year, so our code priorities for our new code were already set before then, and focused on embodied carbon, existing building codes, and simplification of codes as well. And now that we have a new government, we are looking at updating those priorities. Our climate vision is not set yet, but our mandate is related to a lot of climate competitive sort of actions. So more focused on economics, affordability. So I think that piece will be a stronger area in codes, and then for us in Canada. And then also we've been sort of looking into the data center piece as well a little bit more for kind of future priorities. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Daniel. Jens?
I need my microphone now again. Yes, Jens Lautsen. I'm currently working for the Danish Energy Agency, and I've been a lot around. So I was in the Danish Energy Agency around 25 years ago and worked a lot with Danish building codes, Danish certification systems, and all of these kind. Then I was some years in the IEA, where I worked a lot with building codes around in the globe. And now I'm back after a period of independent consultancy and work with a concerted action, which is a collaboration between all European member states, where we try to promote energy performance, energy efficiency in buildings, including building codes, including rules for existing buildings, and everything that's covered by the European Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. So I have two hats. I have a little the Danish hat, where it's actually now some of my colleagues that are deeply involved in the Danish building codes. But I have a hat from the Danish side and how we do things here in Denmark. But I also have this hat of collaboration between all European member states, where we have a conference next week in lovely rainy Ireland, and we will take an umbrella and a few other things with us for that meeting. And if I should stress a few things that we work a lot with at the moment, it's zero emission buildings. So, you know, this interconnection between the building and the production of energy, either on site, nearby, or a little further away. It could be things like zero energy communities. It could be things like global warming potential, as we call it, or a kind of life circle assessment. So is it only during operation that you use energy, or what about when you build the houses or refurbish or demolish? I think things like compliance is always interesting and a struggle for nearly all European member states, as well as, you could say, existing buildings. What can we put on top of the building codes? Could that be minimum energy performance standards for buildings and things like that? So I'm really out here to also get inspired by things which is going on in other places of the world.
Thank you very much, sir. Louis?
Yes, hello. Excuse me, I'm not very good in English. I'm a building engineer. I work on environmental performance of buildings in CEREMA. It's a public agency who is helping the French government. So I've been working a lot on life cycle assessment and embodied carbon, and also in about energy efficiency. So our three code's priorities now in France are our RE 2020. So we have this regulation for new buildings with carbon assessment, and it's now applied to new types of buildings in very soon in May 2026. Like for a lot of new buildings, like restaurants or industry or universities. So it was the top work for the last 3 years, and now we are going to look at the life cycle assessment for existing buildings, I think. Our other things, it's the energy performance certificates for existing housing that will gradually forbid the rent of the worst energy ratings buildings. And the last one is our work on the energy consumption of non-residential buildings with different goals in 2030 and 2040 and so on. And we are seeking to work on taking summer comfort into account in our regulations for existing buildings, because it's done for new buildings with RE 2020, but we have the same problem of like others. In summer, we are suffering the heat, so we are trying to. There is no code no regulations on for existing buildings in France, like on this subject, and we feel that we'll have to work on it.
Same in Canada. Surprising when it's minus 17 right now, but in the summer it's
Yes.
a big problem. It's a big problem. Yeah. Merci, Louis. Takao?
Okay, thank you very much, Marie. My name is Takao. I have been the executive committee member very long time, and I was involved in the development of this working group for building energy code. It was, I think, I don't remember the year, but maybe 8 years ago, which was it was in Sweden, the meeting in Sweden. But anyway, building energy code, it's very, very important system to implement the result from EBC R&D activities. So at that time, I proposed very strongly to have this kind of this working group for building energy code. And top 3 cause priorities. Yes, I can remind 2 priorities. One priority is to make the Japanese building energy code be able to cover many kinds of technologies, especially they call unevaluated technologies. They are not new technology. They are very conventional technology, but they don't have any good standard to quantify how much energy they can save. For example, we don't have any rule to evaluate the effectiveness of, for example, demand control ventilation, like CO2 concentration control of outdoor air intake to save the energy. One of the problem is the reliability of CO2 sensors, so something like that. And another example is heat pump system. Heat pump is very promising technology for very energy efficient building, but the technology is very complicated, and I have seen many countries having the trouble how they can evaluate energy saving thanks to having heat pump systems. So now in parallel, I'm an operating agent of Annex 88, engaged in the evaluation of actual energy performance of heat pump systems. Sorry, 1 minute. Another my priority is the utilization of building code evaluation methodology to design practices. I believe that the method of energy calculation for building energy code must be most reliable, most transparent method by which they can quantify the performance of buildings. So it should be utilized also for the design practice. So, okay, that's it. Thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Richard.
Kia ora tātou. Kia ora everybody. It means your good health. So I'm Richard London. I'm currently the manager for building performance here in New Zealand at the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. We're a government agency that look after the Building Act and Building Code in terms of legislation, both writing it in terms of policies, but also the operational policies which come out into the Building Code performance requirements. In terms of energy, this is just one building code clause of 30 that we look after within my team. And I've been working in this area for the past 20 odd years. Currently, we are looking at overheating and looking at metrics for how overheating can be firstly quantified, but also ameliorated by the building design. This is some work we're doing in collaboration with CSIRO in Australia, also with BRANZ, that's the Building Research Association in New Zealand. And we have some collaboration also with France, with Emmanuel, who has been over here working with Massey, one of our universities. In terms of buildings as a system, we are looking at the internal environment, which you might think of IAQ, so indoor air quality, but specifically IEQ in terms of indoor environmental quality, which is looking at things like condensation, looking at humidity, ventilation rates, cold bridges within buildings, looking at how that affects air quality in terms of not just CO2, but also some of the other contaminants that are built up, VOCs, in terms of some of the glues and other materials being used within the building fabric. So mostly the work that we've got at the moment is trying to take a more holistic view rather than just specifically straight on energy, albeit that is one of the major shall we say, topics that our government is interested in, specifically because of the cost of installation within construction. At the moment, we have a government in their second year of a 3-year term. We're coming up to an election year. So there is likely to be some policy directives that are starting to come in. They're wanting to bank, shall we say, the policies that they've already delivered, which becomes problematic for us as a public service, mostly because we need to make sure that we are both hedging our bets for the future in terms of what future policy may look like, but also making sure that we've had the research, which I'm sure many of you on the call realize, 2 to 3 years prior to policy coming into place, you've got research to support or evidence to support that the policy should change. So we're looking overseas in terms of zero carbon. We have a methodology here, but we're not really implemented it because this current government is not particularly focused in terms of reducing carbon emissions, albeit that it is something that New Zealand has signed up to. So those are some of the hurdles that we have. So I'm very interested in the experiences of other countries and other methodologies that they've used to adopt to look at building simulation and how it is that we can predict energy performance. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Sarah.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Sarah Peterson and I work at the Swedish Energy Agency. I'm also an alternate in the EBSCO EBC. I work mainly with EU policy, so now it's implementing the Directive of Energy Performance of Buildings. So I would say that's our highest priority at this moment, but it's not my agency that's implementing it. It's the Board of Housing, Building and Planning. So we will see them very soon. So that's going to be exciting. Perhaps, Jens, you will see them next week at the Consular Action. I think they will give a presentation. So yes, I would say that is the highest priority, but also how the buildings integrate with the energy systems in terms of flexibility, resilience, and robustness is also a high priority for us. Yes, that's all for me.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Ryan?
Hello, Ryan Kolker, Executive Director for Energy Resilience and Innovation at the International Code Council. So we develop model building codes, including the International Energy Conservation Code. I think three things that sort of we're working through right now is around compliance and the availability of software tools to help support compliance. One thing we're struggling with is sort of the expansion of energy code coverage beyond traditional energy efficiency measures to include focus on greenhouse gas emissions, both operations and embodied, and what does that look like? And then the third is around capacity and implementation. Our model codes are used around the world, and so how do you sort of right-size provisions that are effective where various different folks are within the energy code adoption process? And so one thing I think particular we need to think about is this is a very global north heavy group, and so looking for opportunities to engage folks in developing economies who are looking at energy code sort of based solutions, but sort of what do they need to be effective?
Ryan, it would be a great pleasure to welcome more people from the global south, as you mentioned. It's just that these are the people that I knew about. So it would be I would be very happy to have other people joining us. And you are absolutely right. We are focusing a lot of things that are, with the exception of Australia and New Zealand, like we are in heating dominated places. So yeah, I'll come back to the compliance when we come back later. Then we have Meredith.
Hi, Meredith Evans. I had worked at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory for something like 30 years, including efforts to launch and lead this committee. I moved over to the World Bank, and I had also worked with Jens and others at the International Energy Agency earlier in my career. Moved over to the World Bank last September. And while I'm not working specifically on buildings right now at the World Bank, you tend to rotate through different topics. So these are my personal priorities as opposed to me representing any institution, which I'm not here. I think for me, one important issue, as Ryan mentioned, is making codes practical for emerging economies. That's where the majority of construction happens. That's where, from an energy or greenhouse gas or human life perspective, we potentially can have the greatest impact. So I think it's an important issue. recognizing that the issues in emerging economies are sometimes different. And so not wanting to lose the interest among this excellent group here either. Implementation and compliance, I think, are critical. And I think that is one way that we can also connect different parts of the world, because there is no country that is perfect on implementation and compliance. I think we could all agree. And then a third, it's a different angle that I think other people have mentioned, and that's communications. I find, and I think this is also a thread that can go through the interests of different countries around the world. I find that too often in the codes community, you're talking at two different levels. There's this high level sort of policy dialogue. Well, they'll talk in very vague generalities about the importance of energy efficiency, greenhouse gas mitigation codes, but without a lot of details necessarily. And then you have more of an engineering community that's interested in codes and the details of codes. And too often, I think there's a gap in the communications between those two. And ultimately, at that policy level is where the decisions are made. But the communications on what are the important things we need to actually focus on are sometimes lost. And so I think that there's a communications piece that we could effectively help influence. And it doesn't mean simplifying things. It just means communicating better so that people can make better and more effective decisions. Thanks.
Thank you, Meredith. Ellen.
Hi. Yes, I'm Ellen Franconi. I currently work for Pacific Northwest National Lab. I retire next week, so I will be.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's exciting. So I've been working in buildings and energy for 35 years. I've worked for 3 Department of Energy research labs. I feel really fortunate to have gotten that exposure. While I was at PNNL about 5 years ago, PNNL, NREL, LBNL, we all won a contract from Department of Energy to investigate resilience in terms of how do you quantify the value of resilience in terms of improved energy efficiency. So that's how I got into it. And mostly we were looking at more thermal resilience metrics, but then we were also trying to drive it to some sort of economic analysis best we could. So we did bring in other metrics related to, well, of course, annual energy costs, but also carbon emissions. And the best we could do in terms of resilience was start thinking about excess mortality. So we did the calculation, a lot of assumptions in between to get it to that point. We also had to figure out a decent way to come up with representative extreme event weather data files. And we've continued to work on that. So my regular work at PNNL is in energy code development. So to do those studies, to do impact studies, to figure out what is the benefit to the nation or to states to adopt the most current energy codes. We have climate zone locations, national level and at every state level. So we developed these extreme event representative weather data files that we could use in code impact analyses. And those will be posted shortly. Unfortunately, no international locations, but you can see if you like our method and do something similar, I guess. Lastly, at PNNL, we also provide technical assistance to state projects, and through the last administration's Inflation Reduction Act, there are a handful of projects states brought forth about how to bring resilience into energy codes. So I've got to do some advising on those projects, and they were super interesting because, again, you write a code, I think it's to Meredith's point, but what do people actually have to do? So that was more enlightening of how do you apply some of these things in a practical way. And that's what I hope to continue post PNNL, because I feel like the IRA funding is totally up in the air. There's some great projects out there, and I don't know. I don't think they're going to get the support. I hope they do, but they might be needing more support than what they have right now.
And we would be very happy to have you join us even after your retirement, if you so choose, Helen.
I would like to. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Ben.
Thanks, Ben Ray, New Buildings Institute. Congratulations, Ellen. NBI is a nonprofit organization based in Portland, Oregon, in the Northwest United States. I'm based in the Midwest, where it is very cold right now. Our mission is to eliminate emissions from the built environment, and I work on the codes team. So code development, model codes through the IACC, like Ryan mentioned earlier, ASHRAE, as well as code adoption and enforcement kind of around the country. Mostly, we've had a couple small projects outside the US, primarily in India, but our work is very much focused in the United States. As far as organizational priorities, decarbonization of buildings through codes, resilience. We've worked a lot in Southwest United States, where it is very hot on resilience measures, and then different ways of integrating embodied carbon into codes through things like life cycle analysis, just like notifications. We're kind of looking at a number of different approaches for embodied carbon.
Thank you, Ben. We have a couple of or three people that are not necessarily included in my list. Simon.
Thanks, Melly. Yes, I'm a building energy codes interloper from Ireland. My official role here, if there is such a thing, is I'm the head of the EXCO Support Services Unit, the secretariat that supports Melly and the EBC and the work that they do. As you can tell, I'm not Irish, but I have been here for 20 years, perhaps just to reflect on Ireland's priorities as much as I understand them. Firstly, at the moment, the focus is on the implementation phase of the energy performance of building directives. So there's a lot of focus here on some of the things that have come out of that, including the integration of indoor environmental quality into the considerations. We have a national retrofit plan, which we're in the process of, like most countries, trying to scale. Perhaps surprisingly, with the weather that we have here, overheating is also an increasingly hot button topic when it comes to energy codes and understanding quite where those responsibilities and accountabilities lie in the design of building and managing overheating risk. That's my personal reflection rather than that of a particular department. No, but nice to meet everybody. I may be on and off these meetings depending on my availability, but it's useful for me as the support services unit lead to see what's going on and help Melly report back to the EXCO when necessary. Thanks very much.
You're most welcome, Simon, anytime. Matt.
Sure, thanks, Melly. My name is Matt Young. I work with Pacific Northwest National Lab. I got involved with the working group last year, helping support Meredith while she was still at PNNL. We were previously the operating agent of the group. Since then, Melly has taken over, so helping kind of with that transition phase. The work I do at Pacific Northwest National Lab is mostly technical assistance, supporting states that are updating their building energy codes, providing them with cost effectiveness analyses, and then also supporting projects that have funding from the Department of Energy. We've got a wide range of priorities at PNNL, so I'll just kind of speak to the work that I'm doing. Thanks, Elliot.
Thank you. And last but not least, Brody.
Sure, thanks, Melly. So I'm Brody Hobson. I'm a member of Melly's team here at Natural Resources Canada. I'm involved a little bit with some of the code committees here in Canada. I'm involved in the committees on energy efficiency in new buildings, as well as a task group on heat pumps. And I guess in terms of our priorities, my priorities would be aligned with what Danielle spoke to for Canada, for our national building code. So yeah, happy to continue to be involved in those committees and then bring some of that work here. Also, I'll be, as Matt alluded to, P&L was previously the operating agents, and that's now shifted over to Melly. So I'll be acting kind of in a supporting role for Melly as part of the secretary with Matt to organize these meetings and coordinate amongst all of you. So thank you for having me.
Excellent. Thank you. And the big question is, what do we do with all this brain power that we have here? And I took some notes, and I was wondering rather than me saying what I think, I have some ideas, but I would like to open it up to you and see how do you see this group developing in a way that will help both these people around the countries around this screen, and also how do we involve other countries that are not represented here. So I open it up for your comments at this point. I know I'm putting you on the spot. Ellen.
Well, I don't know everything that's been going on within the working group, so maybe you've already thought of some things, but it just seems like there's so much commonality across the different organizations, countries, and just to get a feel for who's working on what in a big way, in like almost circling those things that we could all benefit from each other's methods and maybe prioritizing, I guess just putting a framework to what's going on so we can prioritize or just understand resources we could draw from.
We lost Ellen.
Is it me? I lost connection. Oh.
No, it's Ellen who lost connection.
I think I'm back.
Okay. So putting the framework and basically mapping out what our priorities are and what our capabilities are would be a one way forward. Is that correct, Ellen? Is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Meredith.
Yeah, kind of building off of that, I know historically with this working group, we have struggled to really make it, I guess I would say global, and starting even with Europe. So Melly, I congratulate you and the participants on this call that we really do have, I think, comparatively great European participation. And I think one of the challenges is sometimes from the European perspective, there is already a lot of international collaboration, but within the European context. And I would humbly posit that that's slightly, that we need to find ways to connect beyond that, right? Because there is a lot that we can learn from each other globally. While some of the issues, say in Canada, the United States, or Australia, may not be top of mind today, in relation to EPBD, they are really important issues where we can learn, and vice versa, right? So there's a lot of really innovative stuff happening in Europe right now, and the collaboration isn't always there across the oceans. So finding ways that we can engage and really interest the people at the at a working level, I think is going to be really important, and I think that may also help us reach out and do broader engagement, right? So you know, Melly, that I'm pretty passionate, and also in my current job, working in developing countries. But I think it's important not to lose out on the opportunity to collaborate among the wealthier countries of the world, because there's a lot of progress one can make in those countries. And so finding and actively thinking about ways to make sure that we are bridging, but not bridging in ways that then lose the interest of some countries. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Meredith. Anybody else that needs to? Richard.
Yeah, hi there, everyone. Look, I'm very much looking for collaboration. I know with the amount of knowledge that's here, there are things that some countries are doing that are ahead of New Zealand. And also at the same time, there are things where New Zealand is doing research that we would like to share as well. So I see this as an opportunity to cross-collaborate. We are collaborating with Europe. We do work with the ICC. We also work with the IRCC, the International Jurisdiction to Code Cooperation, which is countries using performance-based building codes. We work with Australia very closely. We work with Ireland, with the UK. We're looking currently at Japan towards your accessibility standards, and also to Canada for accessibility standards. So as a small-ish island nation, we adopt a lot of international practice. And so what we're interested in is seeing how we can both collaborate, but also share the information that we currently have as well in a way that actually is useful. Not that New Zealand is specifically a developing country, but certainly our economy is somewhat development. We're also finding that some of our codes and standards are being picked up by Pacific Island nations, predominantly because we provide a number of our standards free of charge, which also means that they have ease of access and they don't have the paywalls to that information and to various technologies. So that's something that I think if we can make it easier for countries to access this information and increase that collaboration, which I know is one of the main tenets here with the IEA, then it would be excellent.
Jens, and we have only 5 minutes, and we'll probably overshoot our time. So.
Just, I had this expansion once, starting from Denmark, going to EU level, and then working in the IEA with the global level. And then I went back to the European level again. But I think it was very inspiring to see some of the work that is going on other places where things are done completely different. And also the weak spot maybe in Europe is we are cold climates mainly, but we also have very hot areas, for instance, in Spain or south of Italy, Greece, and places like that. And I think these are some of the weaker spots in the European legislation. So if somebody have discovered more about heating, problems with heating, what can you do, simplistic methods and all of these kind of things, it would be great for Europe to learn things like that and share experience.
Excellent. So we are at time, and there are a couple of things that I am thinking. The first thing is we should meet again and basically look at like when I listen to all of you talking about overheating and resilience comes up quite strongly, and this could be an application also to countries that are in the south, essentially. And I was wondering whether our next meeting we should come prepared to talk about what we are doing in overheating. Is that something that is, yeah? And the other thing that I was thinking, like it's not, we have to put a framework around this. And I was wondering whether we could develop a kind of library of documents that are applicable to the different, we don't want the codes of each country. That would be a little bit too much, but documents that in the different countries that address overheating, resilience, indoor air quality, and I think the Secretariat could, Brody, I'm looking at you, could organize these things. And essentially the different, I do not expect everybody to have this in English. Thank God for AI. We could work with AI to translate this and put them in a way that would be helpful. This will allow us to put a kind of framework to begin with. I don't know, what is your opinion on this, Simon?
Yeah, one thing that might be worth looking at on the AIVC website are the ventilation information papers. Valerie Laprince from CEREMA has done some sterling work doing summaries of both ventilation regulations and air tightness regulations in different countries. So she has a format for a document that summarizes the codes in different countries for those specific areas, because that's the focus of that annex, obviously. But that might be an interesting starting point to see the kind of information that's collated in those documents. So they're available on the AIVC website under VIPs, ventilation information papers, and they're quite good summaries.
Simon, could I be as bold to ask you to send me the links to that?
Yeah, no problem at all, Melly. I will do.
Yeah, thank you. Brody?
I was going to say there's a similar document I know that came out of some of the occupancy related annexes about occupant considerations in the building codes that are overviews. So if that's also of interest, I can send you the link to those documents as well.
Yeah.
Or send them to myself, I guess, if I'm going to be collecting and maintaining the repository of work.
Yeah. I would like to be on it so that I keep an idea of where we are. Takao.
I think we had a annex for ventilative cooling. I think it was annex 62 or something like that. So I think they have already gotten any kind of conclusions how to deal with that kind of problem in very insulated building in Europe. I think one way is to have unfortunately to have air conditioners. Japan, we have a very severe summer, and in the top summer, it is impossible to deal with that kind of situation without air conditioners. Okay, thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you, Takao. So, when do you, Meredith? I completely agree. Compliance is a big hole in the whole codes activities. Like, we can develop all the codes in the world, but if the compliance is not there, then we missed our. And I think that would be something that we could discuss on a subsequent meeting, essentially. So we are out of time. If I may, would it be too close to have a meeting next month to talk about overheating?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. So next month, if you could come prepared and maybe share information about what you are doing ahead of time on overheating, and we will deal with it. In the meantime, if you have documentation like what Simon shared, we would be happy between Brody and me to receive it, and we'll figure out how we could organize it in a way that it would be accessible. I see this as an opportunity to develop like my team is working on developing kind of an application for large language models on our code, essentially a way to interrogate the different aspects of the code. And this is just something that I'm talking off the top of my head, but it would be a good idea to have a kind of interrogation or a chatbot, if you want, for the different aspects of the different countries. So like, it's not to have a library that people go and find information, but something that can interrogate the library, essentially. I'll put a little bit more thought on it and come back to you. So I'm going to thank you very much. We are 3 minutes over time. I don't know if anybody has last words.
Ellen just had a question in the chat about if you wanted people to compile a slide for a deck, basically, for that presentation.
That would be great. That would be great, Ellen. Yeah, we can take it. Yeah, Jens.
And maybe also that we should continue looking for people from the South to be part of this discussion, especially when we discuss overheating and things like that. Maybe some people from Brazil or
Mary, there is a good person in India to be invited.
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't think about it. Yeah. I will contact the person in India who was our host in November, and if anybody else has, I'm going to send the information, the doodle, whatever it's called, to find a time that works for all of us, and we will set it up and include the people that are additional to this group here. Are we good?
Mary, there was a comment from the Meredith saying that some contact person in Brazil. Meredith, do you have any?
Yeah, I don't have them, Meredith. Yeah, and I will contact our Indian colleague, Ryan. If you have other people that you want to contact, it would be great. Yeah, I know. I really appreciate everybody that woke up in the middle of the day, in the middle of the night. I will try to push things so that other people wake up next time around. Very good. Thank you all. I'm very excited about this, and I look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you, Mary.
You.
Thanks, Nelly.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.